Informal comment here before we start the meeting. We're actually waiting on one more person to have a quorum, so I apologize for the delay, but hopefully we'll have somebody available by phone here shortly. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the spring quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. We are glad to have everyone here with us this morning. The format of the meeting is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do because we are actually still waiting on one more member to have a quorum. So in order to address this and not waste any time, we've elected to go ahead and start the meeting and deal with the informational portions and aspects of the meeting first, and then when the other board members available by telephone, we will switch to the action items and take care of those in short order. So anyway, thank you for your patience and your understanding. We have several special guests with us here this morning. Dennis Jones, obviously everyone knows. Dennis, thank you very much for being here. Dr. Elisa White, President of Austin Peay State University. Thank you so much, Dr. White, for being here. Dr. Shirley Raines, former President of the University of Memphis. Thank you very much, Dr. Raines, for being here. Chancellor Bob Smith from the University of Tennessee at Martin. Thank you very much, sir, for being here this morning. President Jerry Faulkner, Volunteer State Community College. Where's our back? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you for being here very much. And I hope I have not missed anyone, but I think that's it. I do want to take a moment to have a moment of silence and recognize former THEC Executive Director and President Emeritus of Tennessee Tech, Arliss Roden, who passed away recently and made a big contribution to higher education in our state. So if you would please recognize a moment of silence for him. Okay, this is the last, well, actually what we need to do, and I don't know, I may ask our Associate General Counsel to let us know, should we call roll now or should we wait until we have all 7 members present?
You need a quorum to take any action on the agenda items, so informational sessions should be.
So we won't do a roll call until we know we've got the folks we need present. I do want to take a moment of personal privilege and recognize that this is the last meeting for our good friend Alex Martin, who has served with us for the last 2 years, I think, as our student member from the Board of Regents. Alex, I know personally speaking from you, I have really enjoyed working with you and getting to know you. I think you're a bright, intelligent person with a really bright future. Alex was elected president of the student body at Tennessee Tech last week. Is that right?
This week.
This week. So he is on a high. He's got a lot of momentum going now. So, Alex, I don't know if you want to make a few comments here, this being your last meeting.
Well, it's going to be an interesting senior year for me. I'll definitely miss my time at THEC here. But if I had to sum it up with one word, acronyms. So the whole first year was definitely getting the acronyms down, and I'd definitely be lying if I said, it wasn't an intimidating experience walking in this room for the first time as a sophomore in college. But, the people on this commission are so, they've taken me under their wing, and we have a great staff here, and I'm confident that Tennessee's headed in the right direction, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have served.
Thank you, Alex. This is also the last meeting for John Kinsey from Chattanooga, and John was not able to join us here, but I understand he is watching by video, so I want to recognize his service. He's been on this commission for a very long time and has made a valuable contribution to higher education in our state. So, John, if you're listening, we want to let you know how grateful we are for your service, and let's recognize him also with a round of applause. That concludes my remarks, and at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Deaton.
Thank you, Chairman Cope. Let me also recognize Alex and John, their contributions. This has been an active few years for higher education. I appreciate not only getting to know them, but also their insights and observations and the work they've done with us. So best wishes to both of you in future endeavors, and hope we stay in touch. Let me also just notice Dr. Kim Estep is in the audience, WGU Tennessee Chancellor. So welcome, Dr. Estep. Glad you're with us today as well. Let me do a few introductions for some new staff. I want to recognize two women. First is Katie Lucci. Katie, where are you? Right there on the front. Wave your hand, Katie. Katie just joined us in a part-time role as Executive Secretary and will be with us for the foreseeable future. A 2013 graduate, I think, of the University of North Carolina, where she, after graduation with her bachelor's degree, spent a year as the Executive Secretary for Chancellor Tom Ross, recently retired. So has experience doing this and is about to graduate from the Vanderbilt Master's Program in higher ed. So she is going places, and hopefully we will be with us for a while and contribute to the work we do here. Let me also recognize Lisa Davies. Is she back there? There's Lisa back there. Lisa is a program coordinator in the Office of P16 Initiatives with Troy Grant, and that team comes to us, former faculty member at Lipscomb and Nashville State, if I remember right, guidance counselor as well, and is currently in the doctoral program at ETSU. Where she's pursuing her graduate studies is there. So Lisa, welcome and glad you're with us today. Just a few brief comments. Yesterday, Crystal Collins in the budget review mentioned the Institutional Outcome Improvement Fund, which this commission will remember recommended last fall $800,000 to help address schools that have some lagging outcomes. Budget passed just last week, of course, but that RFP has already been released. We're moving aggressively forward on that one. So just want to let the commission know that. I don't know exactly when proposals are due. Crystal knows the date, of course, but that'll be happening very fast, and so we're anxious to get those proposals and look forward to executing that grant and reporting back to you on that. Tuesday, I spent the day with Commissioner Randy Boyd and others in New York for a conference on America's College Promise. This is an effort nationwide to establish more free college programs, either through philanthropy, through local efforts, state efforts, perhaps with the federal government. And there's a group of folks who have come together to think through those possibilities, both from a state-funded model, a state-centric model, and other efforts as well. So in many ways, a brainstorming session, but we had on our subgroup several other SHEOs, several folks from foundations led by Commissioner Boyd, and begun to think through that process to recommend ideas back that other states or localities could perhaps adopt to continue this push towards free college. So that work continues, and THEC, we're happy to be a part of that as well. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask David Wright, our Senior Policy Officer, to join us at the table and review an item we put in the update a few weeks ago from the Lumina Foundation regarding the most recent educational attainment numbers nationwide, as well as some changes they made to the data this year that give it a more complete picture of our degree attainment in the state. David, let me ask you to go through that, please.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
I put a brief item in the update a couple of weeks ago, and since then the report has actually been mailed to me. And I don't know if some of our others on our staff got it, but Lumina put out a report in the last 2 weeks called Stronger Nation. It essentially is a document that tracks national and state-by-state progress toward Lumina's version of the Drive to 55, which is that 60% of U.S. citizens working age will have a post-secondary degree, an associate's or higher, or a post-secondary certificate of high quality or high labor market value by 2025. So while the Drive to 55 is think about here in Tennessee, Lumina, they're thinking of a 60% mark that was also endorsed by the Obama administration and the Gates Foundation back around the time when we were putting into practice the Drive to 55. The report is really a brief national overview and then a series of state profiles. What's maybe the takeaways from the report are, for the first time, Lumina actually includes certificates in the progress toward the national goal, and they do this for Tennessee as well. The short version of the story is that for Tennessee, their estimate, Lumina's estimate, which they worked on with the Georgetown Center for Education and the Workforce, is 5%, which is really very close to what our friends at UT-CBER, Bill Fox and company, had developed 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago. And so we felt good that our estimate that we're using to inform the Drive to 55 progress is not terribly at odds with what Lumina is coming up with for Tennessee. One distinction between how we've been thinking about certificates to date here and how Lumina thinks about it is that Lumina only includes what they call certificates of high quality or high labor market value, and they define that as they've defined disciplines broadly, like don't think about majors, but think about clusters of majors, meta majors. And for a certificate in a certain field to be counted as high quality, they define that at the moment economically. It's programs that lead to a wage, an annual wage that is at or above the median wage for that broad discipline by award level. And so, for instance, a certificate in one field that might not reach that wage threshold would not be counted in the Lumina report, whereas at the moment we're counting all certificates that come from the providers that we recognize. I've asked Jeff Stroll, who was the staffer at Georgetown that developed these estimates for Lumina, to be with us at a meeting that we'll have in June, where we sort of think about how we want to, or whether we want to act on this in Tennessee. While I think it is appropriate to count all certificates and perhaps even other forms of post-secondary credentials in our Drive to 55 calculations, it may be that for other purposes, whether it's the formula or other initiatives that we might have going forward, maybe we do want to distinguish between certificates or post-secondary credentials based upon their labor market value. So that's an issue that we need to think about as a group going forward. The other main point of the study, and this applies to Tennessee as well, is that if you look at past growth trends, the nation is not on a path to hit the 60% goal. What you see is a fairly flat trend line for Tennessee and for the nation that until you add the 5% estimate for certificates, that gives us a big bump up in this year. So Tennessee, in 2008, the first year for which data are available in the report, our associates and above attainment rate was 31.3% in 2008, and as recently as 2013, it was 33.8%. So not a lot of incremental growth there. When you add the new estimate of certificates, they have us now for the latest year available, 2014, at 39.3%. So we're knocking on the door of 40%. We're looking at 55% as our goal. I think what might distinguish Tennessee from a lot of other states is we have a lot of things in place that give us reason to believe we have a good shot at hitting our 55% goal by 2025, whereas there are other states that are not as deeply engaged in a college completion agenda as we are. So the tone in the Lumen report is somewhat more alarming than I think what we feel here in Tennessee. We do get high marks in the reports for being one of the 25 other states that have a post-secondary attainment goal that is challenging, it's quantifiable, it's long-term, and it's found in statute or a state long-range plan. Believe it or not, there are half of the states out there that don't even have something like that as something to sort of hold policy together. So I guess those are sort of my key takeaways from the report. If you have any reactions or questions about that, I'd be happy to talk about them.
I don't mind, David. Thank you for the report. We think we might have a quorum, so we'll reserve our questions for David after we make that determination. And then if we do, we're going to go ahead and immediately address our action items so that we can move on to the informational. So, Mr. Gibson, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cope,
Here.
Secretary Hargett, Dr. Hayburn, Miss Kadiri, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Here.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee, Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Miss Martin, Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, and Mr. Wilson.
Here. Very good. Next, the chair will entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented. Have a second, or have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Have a second. Great. Mr. Gibson, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Dr. Hayburn, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Miss Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes.
That's right, the motion carries. Very good. Next, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented. I have a motion. I have a motion. Is there a second on the floor? Second on the floor. Call the roll, please, Mr. Gibson.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Dr. Hayburn, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Miss Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson. You have 7 ayes.
Very good. The motion carries. Next, item 1A1 on your agenda item, new academic programs, Ms. Victoria Harpool.
Mr. Chairman, as she's coming up, this was the item that Betty Dandridge Johnson went through in detail yesterday, just to kind of set the stage for Victoria.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Deaton, members of the Commission. So before you is the program in the Masters of Science at ETSU in Human Services. This is kind of the meeting of high demand area. This would be one of only 30 master's programs in human services in the country, and the only one in the state really meeting a need that will be filled by ETSU. It also builds upon their recently accredited undergraduate program in human services. So we feel it's a really nice fit between meeting a need and having a demand there. So we recommend approval by the Commission.
Thanks very much, Victoria. Very good. So from the information you have, the chair will entertain a motion, please. A motion to adopt.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Mr. Gibson, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson. You have 7 ayes, sir.
Very good. The motion carries. Next, item 1B, I'll call on Dr. Stephanie Beller-Chase, please.
Thank you, Chairman Cope, Dr. Deaton, members of the Commission. Good morning. I have 2 action items for your consideration today. The Committee on Post-Secondary Educational Institutions has recommended that the institutions listed in Section 1B1 be granted reauthorization as follows. 196 institutions for regular authorization. That means that they've met all the standards of initial authorization and have been authorized for at least 2 years. 41 institutions for temporary authorization. They've also met the standards for authorization, but they've been authorized less than 2 years, and so that's why they're temporary. And then 98 institutions for conditional authorization. That means that there's a variety of issues of initial authorization standards that these institutions aren't meeting. I do want to mention that 85 of those 98 students are one school, and it's HRB THEC school. So that's why that number is so large. So that is a total of 335 institutional locations for the 2016-17 fiscal year.
Thank you, Stephanie, very much. At this point, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt Dr. Stephanie Beller-Chase's recommendations on this item.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Duly seconded. Any questions? Very good. Mr. Gibson, call the roll.
Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes.
Very good. The motion carries. Next, Dr. Deaton will.
I have one more action
Oh, I'm
item.
sorry. I apologize, Stephanie. Thanks.
The 14 institutions listed in Section 1B2 and the 25 new programs listed in Section 1B3 have been recommended for temporary authorization and approval, respectively.
A motion on the floor, please.
For approval.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Duly seconded. Any questions? Mr. Gibson, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben, Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, Chairman.
Motion carries. Next, item 1C, the University of Tennessee Martin Master Plan. Dr. Deaton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me introduce Mr. Marion Folks to come make the presentation. He is with Centric Architecture and to do the presentation today for us.
Do you want to switch them, or do you want to switch the presentation? Good morning to you. I'm Marion Folks. I am a principal of Centric Architecture, and I've had the opportunity of working with the University of Tennessee at Martin for the last 15 years or so, and I'm really honored to be invited back to work with the university on this updated master plan. And I want to thank Chancellor Bob Smith. I want to thank his staff, the administration, faculty, as well as the students for their participation. This is a refinement of a previous plan, and there are a number of guiding principles that are so important to the university, and it's how we organized our master plan refinement, creating a robust on-campus community of students, improving the campus visual experience, reinforcing town and gown relationships, and branding and communicating the University of Tennessee experience. So we want to create a student interaction, increase use of University of Tennessee housing, and develop a spirit and organize activities on the campus going forward. And the landscaping itself, improving the campus visual experience, I'll show you what we are suggesting through landscaping, entrances, signage, and actually removal of parking. I'm sure you've heard that before. So what's good for the University of Tennessee Martin is good for the UTM and vice versa. And there's a good relationship between the university and Martin, and there's some streetscapes that will be that are existing that will be tied into our long-term plan. This is the master plan itself, and I'll point you to a number of items. If you look at the items in red, there are future buildings. One, and can you see this or not? Can you? All right. This is an addition to the Fine Arts building. It's a performing arts facility. A new proposed engineering and science building, as well as a location for a new academic building across from it. Here. This green area here is eliminating existing parking on the interior of the campus and creating a second quadrangle for the students. At present, students live in these housing units, and they are crossing parking circulation just to get to the majority of the academic buildings along the historic quadrangle. The buildings that you see in yellow here are removing the Y dorms and replacing with additional student housing, removing Grove apartments with new student housing, and removing these old university apartments for the future housing or open space or even parking or future academic buildings. I show you an area here that needs to be acquired, and I'm going to show you an acquisition plan. This is the part of the campus is really has only one contiguous way out to the main campus, and so we need to keep that in mind going forward. The items in blue are student life uses, an addition onto Gooch, pavilion of some sort connected with future housing, a commons building which could have a bowling alley and some late night convenience store, social spaces, a pool onto the existing recreational center, and another pavilion that could be used by the students and the community at large. The university is tying into an existing circulation system of signage, lights, and signage itself that has already been started by Martin from through downtown Martin, down University Avenue to Lovelace, which is the very entrance to the campus, is a set of lighting fixtures and sidewalks and signage, and that same profile is projected to come all the way down to the bypass or Skyhawk Boulevard. The areas in where you see the stars are for new entrances, and I'll show you that momentarily. And then there is also some road improvements that need to be considered. This is the university core of the university. The area that I spoke with earlier about removing the parking from this area. This is housing, the majority of the housing, so they're really coming through, walking across apartments in order to get to the historic quadrangle where a number of the academic buildings are at this point. I show you Chris Paul. We're also suggesting that be reorganized because it now serves as a pivot on both sides of the of a proposed quadrangle and the existing quadrangle. Here's the idea here about taking out parking, creating a sculpture plaza in here, some activity nodes, maybe a bell tower, but what it will do, it will allow students to come in and reutilize space that should be in the middle of the campus and give it and take it away from parking, which is now in the center of the campus. Chris Paul again, its connection. This is the bowling center here, so you can see it's a very important building. What we're suggesting, the master plan is suggesting, is a reorganization so that the students have a student life center on the historic quad, because at the present time there's no social area on that wonderful historic quad. So we are suggesting that some be created here. And security be relocated into a different location. There's also a connection here into the building, into a courtyard, and then into the proposed student area. I mentioned Gooch Hall earlier. It's the largest academic building or classroom building on the campus. That's your front door. The lobby is very small, and what we're suggesting is that we connect the existing small lobby and bring out a student life plaza in front, again, connecting to the old historic quadrangle. It could be covered. I don't see it necessarily have to be enclosed, but you could put wireless out there, coffee, concessions, and it could be a place for students as well as faculty to participate. We've got a problem on the campus now with signage, and this is the main entry into the campus. So we've got to do something. What we're suggesting is that a system of pillars, brick entablatures, stone entablatures actually, brick be installed in certain locations so that when visitors or anyone coming into the campus, they know where the edges are. This is an example of its location at Mount Pelias Road. I'm sure you've all been to Mount Pelias, University Avenue here, and you're really, as a visitor, you're not sure where you should go, but Mount Pelias is one of the major entrances into the campus. We're also suggesting that there be a number of vertical architectural pillars that are located in certain areas in order to brand the edge of the campus and show that this is an pedestrian entry into the campus. Also, again, a suggestion of a pillar along Mount Pelias where you come into the university center itself. There's no signage that really lets you know that this is where visitors will be accepted. I didn't mention this, but at the southern end or western end of the campus, there's a retail area in this area being developed. And at present, students really have to jump in their cars and go around. I haven't seen a lot of bicycles working on that campus, but there's a walkway that we've defined so that the students can cross University Avenue, Skyhawk Boulevard, and then come into the retail area. Again, branded by pillars. The university's site acquisition plan is the same that you've seen before. It hasn't changed. This is that area I talked to you about earlier that, in my opinion, should be a priority. These others are locations that could serve as future academic buildings over time and parking over time. This area here is strictly for agricultural needs in their future. This is the plan itself. You can see that the buildings in red are academic buildings and additions. This is just a small pavilion over an existing pre-function area for the arena. New housing. We are creating a new quadrangle in this area to bring all of the campus back to the students. Additional parking will be recaptured in this area. Commons buildings, this is all in support of student life. And the walkway that I talked to you about earlier, this is where all of that new retail development is And it's just a walkway through here on an existing path and road that will take you across to the retail area. Thank you.
Questions?
But it says that I understand what you're trying to do here. Student life of this campus, that's
Chancellor, did you hear the question? I'll answer it in my way. Yes, it will. What we're trying to do is attract more students there and create an environment so that students stay on the campus. At present, most of the students coming in they get in their car, they drive from home, they come to the campus, and then they leave. And so we're trying to create more activity on the campus and a real community of students during the week and during the weekend as well. You're welcome.
Good. No other questions. We'll entertain a motion to approve the master plan.
so moved.
The motion is there a second? Second. All right. Any further discussion? Mr. Gibson, call the roll, please.
Pope.
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey. Secretary Hargett. Ms. Coben. Mr. Kustoff. Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard. Mr. Martin.
Aye.
Ms. Martin. And Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Very good. The motion carries. The final action item on our agenda today is item 1D, master plan for the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Dr. Deaton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me introduce and call upon Curtis Catron, principal at Bullock Smith and Partners, for the UTK Campus Master Plan presentation. Curtis.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. This is, I think, my 21st year working with the university on master planning, so it's pretty exciting to see the growth over the years and the significant changes in the campus. This is a fifth-year intermediate update of the master plan, and the intent was to focus on updating the completed projects, to review the THEC standards and update them based off of the new requirements, to revise the priority list as appropriate as the academic needs have changed, and to do any other updates that have come up since our last version of the master plan. The first step that we took was to review the overall governing principles, which have essentially stayed the same. I'd say of significance in it is that yes, we are continuing to become a more pedestrian-oriented site as the campus has acquired streets, etc., to move parking from the center of campus to the periphery of campus, that the campus has worked diligently to optimize the space that it has today by nationalizing the assignment of the classroom space to better utilize the space they have, that the university also has developed multiple plans to support the master plan, including a new utility master plan, site and landscape improvement plan, and various other studies to supplement the master plan to make sure that the entire campus is planned out thoroughly. Since this is an intermediate master plan update, I'm going to go through this very quickly. I'm happy to come back and discuss anything at length that you would like to hear about. The overall process includes, of course, updating the basic information in terms of gross square footage, and to continue to do data collection within as student needs have changed, and then, of course, to incorporate the input from the user groups. Of significance, since the last master plan, there have been 17 projects that have been completed. The standards have been reviewed and updated. The overall look at it shows that the teaching portion, which are the first 3 lines up here, show a net deficit of 150,000 gross square feet, that there is a substantial potential for additional research based off of potential funding, and that there's some areas that we have to look at because of inefficiencies of using buildings that average over 50 years old. So the university continues to try to make those improvements and to reach these target numbers. I think also of importance is that the university every year struggles with having enough surge space to displace used space so it can be renovated. And so this is not really a number that's accounted for in the THEC standards, but the university works hard to make those accommodations. One of the significant changes you'll see in the master plan is the expansion of the institution zone. The blue line represents the original version of it. The new line shows incorporation of a large area to the northwest of the campus to include properties that the university has acquired over the years and is currently using, potential properties that may become available that are owned by the state that the university could acquire, and to just utilize the natural boundary. Not all property within that area is to be purchased or is achievable, but it does define the space of the university. And so when we look from a design standpoint, that's the area that we're looking to make an impression of the university. Completed projects are underway, which will be shown, our current projects which will be shown as completed in the master plan include some 20 projects across the campus. You'll recognize a lot of them, including the new student dorm, which is the Stokely Family Residence Hall located on Lakeland Boulevard near the Art and Architecture Building, and various other projects that have been completed throughout the campus. There's a residence project that has broken ground and is currently underway. These will all be shown as completed projects in the master plan for now. The university has elected to have 3 phases of improvements that range between near term, which are hopefully a 5 to 10 year period, a midterm, which would be a 10 to 15 year, and a long term, which would be 15 to 20 year. All of this is predicated on available funding, of course. Of significance, I guess, at this time would be the near term projects. You see some academic buildings, including a new engineering STEM building, an academic classroom space and office space, a new bioengineering building to replace existing structure, and then a significant residential redevelopment area. All of these, I believe, you're fairly familiar with. In the midterm, there's some significant projects, including additional renovation of engineering space, academic space, additional space, expansion on the ag campus, replacement of the Annie Holt Tower parking garage for structural reasons. So all of these are considered fairly significant, and seeing them as the ones to begin working on as the other projects are completed. And then in the long term, we're looking at of course, the space making, the continual improvements on the campus, and to try and think in advance so that we don't make any mistakes now for future development. This is the full phase master plan identifying both the proposed projects and the renovation projects. This is a 3-dimensional view of the site looking at the massing studies of it. And then we have some diagrams which illustrate some of the improvements, including the new Annie Holt Tower parking garage, the new Stokely Family Life Center. This is the ag campus and the parking lot pointing by the vet med building, additional research, greenhouses, and the potential of displacing parking, creating an actual quad on the campus. This is a view of the hill from the southeast. Downtown is to the right. You see you see Ayers Tower right there, the science buildings, and this is all new building, and expansion of existing buildings. That's about as brief as I can physically be. This about killed me doing this, I'll tell you right now. Are there any questions or anything you would like to talk about in more
This
detail?
report estimates that Knoxville is operating with about 10% or more deficit in current needs of space. Is that what I understand?
I believe that's
correct.
correct.
Right? So are you leasing that space now, or is that just
living without
restricted
it.
programming and not as many students as you're just living without it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Other questions?
I mean, the reality is, if I've got the numbers right, and Chris Semino's here as well as the 2 Rons from the system finance offices, Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've built $1 billion worth of buildings at the Knoxville campus, and about 1 point across the system. A lot of it's on the back. There is some state support in that, but there's a lot of gift money that's helped us be able to accomplish that.
Patrick, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion on this item. The motion is there, second. All in favor signify so. Well, we need a roll call. I'm sorry, Mr. Gibson, call the roll.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Mr. Kinsey, Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Mr. Kustoff, Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard, Mr. Martin, Ms. Martin, Ms. Roach, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes, Chairman.
Very good. The motion carries. That concludes the action item portion of our agenda this morning. So at this point, we will return, I guess, David, if anyone had any questions of David before we move on. Keith, you may have had.
Do that again, I forgot.
Other than that.
You mentioned you thought you were going to look at whether we would amend our goals or how we would. Why would we? That's not what you said. What did you say about
Not our
looking
goals.
at the standard?
Yeah, this
that a
notion,
national
of that you would not include every single certificate in some. Lumina has chosen to only include high quality labor market value certificates in their national count of progress. We don't do that, and I'm not suggesting, and I haven't heard anybody suggest that we do that. When you're providing incentives around producing certain kinds of things, as we now do around the formula, and this capacity improvement fund could be another place, but there's a discussion to be had about, is that something we want to do? Would we want to do it the same way? There are a lot of occupations with a lot of high social utility that, a higher than average wage is only one consideration. And so I've mentioned to folks at Georgetown that helped develop these that said we'd like to have a conversation in the state that they might be able to help us, if they're in the room on. I'm sorry if I misspoke and said that we were going to change the goal.
I misheard.
The big points I wanted to leave you with is these educational attainment rates move very slowly. The fact that we're now including certificates, or Lumina is as well, helps. And we have cause to be optimistic when you see things like were presented yesterday, that our college participation rates took a huge leap due in some or large part to the Tennessee Promise. And Tennessee, when you look at the universe of states out there, I don't see anybody working any harder or smarter toward bending that growth curve than us. If I could sum it up, that's what I would say about this report.
David, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the portion of our meeting where we recognize institutional excellence. And I have the pleasure of calling on President Jerry Faulkner to talk to us about Volunteer State Community College.
Chairman Cope and Dr. Deaton, members of the commission, thank you for this opportunity to do the part of my job I enjoy the most, which is getting to brag on Volunteer State Community College. We're in the process, of course, of winding down this semester. We have another week of classes and then final exams and then commencement on May 7th. While we're kind of winding down on one hand, other efforts at the college are in full swing. We have a variety of events and efforts centering around the second cohort of the Tennessee Promise students, and then also a variety of activities and efforts concentrating on the Reconnect grant, that grant to bring back non-traditional adult students. The college is centered on student success. In fact, a few years ago, I borrowed from Lee Iacocca, and we say a lot around the campus, or at least I say it. Student success is job one, and it's everybody's job one. And so we're doing our part as a part of the Tennessee Board of Regents to reach our goal of 43,202 credentials by 2025 to achieve the governor's initiative of the Drive to 55. To accomplish that student success, we have a vibrant student services program. We have an excellent student engagement opportunity. We continually work to improve our institutional and instructional excellence. And part of that is to offer our students authentic experience, and that's what we want to concentrate on today. We do this in a variety of ways. Many of our programs have an internship requirement that goes along with them, where they must go out into the business industry or career that they are hoping to achieve and participate in real-world experience. Certainly our 14 degrees and certificates in health science fields all have clinical experiences. We are, this next week, students completing our entertainment media program will be presenting their capstone project at Starstruck Enterprises, that's Reba McEntire's recording company, presenting to a group of industry executives their capstone project revolving around a music business plan, video, recordings for an artist. We actually established our own recording company, and we are signing any artist if any of you are interested. In addition to those kinds of experiences, we had this past year 124 of our classes that had some required service learning portion. That is, students take what they learn in the classroom and they go out, usually with a nonprofit in the community, and help them achieve some goal. Outside the classroom, we have been recognized as one of the top 40 community colleges for international experience. This past spring break, we had student teams in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Mongolia. And this summer, we'll have students in about 15 different countries for short-term overseas study opportunities. But what we want to concentrate on today are our undergraduate scientific research opportunities. And I brought with me today Associate Professor of Chemistry Paris Powers and a couple of students that have been part of that undergraduate research program. And so I'd invite Professor Powers at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Faulkner, and thank you, members of the Commission, for allowing us to share some student success with you. I'd like to introduce to you Justin Pemberton. He's last semester at Vol State before he transfers to Tennessee Tech, and then a former Vol State student, Corbett Jackson, who is now at Vanderbilt University. So Vol State has done undergraduate research in some classes for about 20 years, so we have some historical presence. But in 2011, we were invited by a national collaborative. So talking about acronyms, CURRI stands for Community College Undergraduate Research Initiative, that was initially funded by an NSF grant of $4.37 million for 4 years, and now is on a second 4-year funding of $1.7 million. And the idea was to develop and embed undergraduate research, high-impact practices at the community college level. James Hewlett is the executive director and PI at Finger Lakes Community College, and we were one of the initial 25 community colleges that were invited to become part of the partnership. And so on the map, you will see those 25 partners in red dots, and then blue dots and green dots are supporting university institutions. And at the lower right-hand corner was our initial meeting to develop our strategic plan. We are now recognized as being one of the top 5 partners in this national collaborative. So Curry calls this the Vol State case study, because we started with a strategic plan and we searched and got buy-in from administrative down in our campus community. And we focus on course undergraduate research experiences where we develop undergraduate research projects that are essentially crowdsourced as part of the laboratory component. We also benefited from faculty development in research practices, and we've developed several collaborations. And before I move off of this, in 2014 we attended the regional meeting of the American Chemical Society, and of 81 institutions that were present in undergraduate research for organic chemistry, we were the only community college. And so you can imagine the other 80 institutions, the universities in the southeastern region. These students won first place. And a week later, we're on the page of the Council of Undergraduate Research in Washington, congratulating the students on their successes. All three of these students are moving on to incredible academic careers and eventually professional careers. The young lady to the left is at UT Chattanooga, about to enter medical school. The lady in the center is now a pharmacy student at Belmont, and the gentleman is at the University of Colorado Denver Medical School at this point in time. So we have several different types of undergraduate research programs that we embed in our courses. Particular to my field in chemistry and the course that I teach, organic chemistry, we focus on developing green and microscale techniques, synthesizing flavones that are secondary plant metabolites that have a number of medicinal purposes. What's exciting about the second topic, genomic annotation, this is where a great deal of biology is moving in the future for research. It's a very sustainable research practice. All you need is a computer and the ability to log on to national and global databases. We have a biologist working with camera trapping, non-invasive infrared, looking at species richness. And then lately we're looking at another activity with a toxicologist on campus, and that's looking at the wattage versus toxicity of the 10 critical solvents in vapor cigarettes. So I will hand it over to Justin to share with you some of his experiences.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Justin.
Thanks for having us here. What you're looking at here is the first bit of research that we've presented this year, the flavone synthesis. We were able to take this particular poster out to the ACS National Convention in San Diego and present there. Undergraduate research has given me personally an opportunity to really dive into these topics and find a deeper understanding of the information that we're learning not only inside of the classroom but outside of the classroom. So this is a project that we were able to come in over Christmas break, do research work in the laboratory for several weeks, and then come in and aid the other students in the second semester of organic chemistry to teach them and use those in-classroom lab experiences, experiments as an opportunity to tweak further research. So the flavone synthesis is a nice backbone where you can move forward by adding other substituents onto it. So there are a multitude of other compounds that we can look at applying our green and microscale methods to see whether or not they will work in the future. This particular project has also opened up opportunities to look at two other programs, the R programming language as well as Imager, which are things that are used in science well beyond our undergraduate research. The exposure that we have here at Ball State Community College for this is pretty incredible. Not listed up here is our e-cigarette poster. In the beginning stages of looking at what happens when you increase the wattage of the voltage of these e-cigarette vaporizing units on different solvents, primarily with vegetable glycerin, polypropylene glycol, or a combination of the two. We've been digging through research and have found that for the most part, with those increased voltages, you see an increased presence of those toxic compounds. Given some more time, we'll be able to pair those increases in toxin to risk factors. So we can actually say to smokers, if you are using this much compound, this is your toxic exposure. So that's a quick overview of the work that we've been doing. Once again, thank you for your time, the opportunity to come speak to you.
Good morning. My name is Corbett Jackson, and as Professor Powers earlier stated, I recently graduated from Volunteer State Community College, and I'm now pursuing a career in medicine at Vanderbilt University. And I only have a few minutes, so I'd like to delineate to you a little bit about what my undergraduate research experience was like at Volunteer State Community College. I first got involved in the undergraduate research initiative during my second semester at Volunteer State, in which I was assigned to a project that mainly focused on chemical pretreatment methods for cellulosic ethanol. And it acid hydrolysis, dilute pretreatments, concentrated pretreatments. I solely focused on the alkaline pretreatments using sodium, potassium, calcium, ammonium to degrade the glycosidic and ester side chains of the material. However, I decided and pretty quickly discerned that I was not extremely passionate about that. Nothing really resonated with me about that, and so I was very upfront with Professor Powers about that, and we were able to devise something that I was able to kind of express to him some other interests of mine, being the vapor cigarettes. And I was then able to team up with him and another professor, another mentor of mine on campus, Dr. Philip Clifford, who's a toxicologist by trade. And we were able to begin our exploration, if you will, in determining and investigating the top 10 solvents of the e-cigarettes by comparing solubility. The more water-soluble something is, the less toxic. The less water-soluble it is, the more toxic it is. And I was more on the literary side of things. You know, when most people think of research, they think of a lab and blowing things up and chemicals and whatnot. That's not it. It's a lot more. The literary research is extremely important. You can go in, you can become fluent in those terms and whatnot, and then you can find the missing pieces and answer the questions that need to be filled in. So in that brief discussion, I've hoped that I've been able to convey to you briefly a few things that I've taken from my academic experience there. One being acquiring knowledge. I think there's a PowerPoint. Yeah. So acquiring knowledge that transcends classroom curriculum. Being involved in research certainly dispenses the ability to exceed limitations in courses of interest, whatever that may be. Nuclear chemistry, organic chemistry, biology with the genomic annotations, whatever that may be, there's something that you can delve a little further into and look at it on a micro level, which is really cool. Being able to apply knowledge to current studies, I was on many occasions able to take the knowledge that I had procured from the research and apply that to a classroom setting, and certainly consolidated some things. I mean, with the switchgrass we did acid-based chemistry, that is completely relevant to general chemistry, and certainly aided me on many occasions. Advancement in communication and leadership skills, one of the perfect examples. I was able to confront Professor Powers when I was not enjoying what I was doing, and we were able to again devise another project that I felt was more suitable to my interests. Getting up and doing presentations like this professionally and effectively presenting data, etc. Also, one thing that I think a lot of people overlook about this is the relationships, both professional and personally, and the networking opportunities that emanate from the interactions I've been able to have been extremely influential to me. And academics have sort of been the focal point of this conversation, but I certainly do not want to neglect or dismiss the personal prosperity that comes along with it as well. And lastly, and perhaps what I consider to be most paramount or greatest importance, is that you get for lack of a better term, the opportunity to nibble into certain topics before you completely become indulged in something. That is so important because you get to find what matters to you. And I know that can kind of be pushed off to the side, but that's really important to find something that matters to you. Why would you want to invest any of your time into something that you don't care about and that you're not passionate about? And I've certainly been able to do that, and it's been extremely propitious for me. And I would just like to take a moment again to thank Dr. Faulkner for advocating and providing and contributing to a salubrious learning environment and research institution. And Dr. Powers, you won't meet another guy who is eminently ardent and passionate about this program. And Justin Pemberton for being a great colleague and for always reminding me and pushing me to get things turned in on time. And thank you guys for your time. Thank you, and for providing sustenance to this program.
And so by embedding these kinds of projects and others into undergraduate courses, in an average year, we'll have about 600 undergraduate students that get some taste of what it means to really do scientific research. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions unless they're about chemistry, and I will have to refer to these three.
Questions?
The program has been sustained by these grant agencies. Where do you go from here?
Well, the initial grant sustaining methods were to provide professional development and develop a synergistic plan among the faculty. We have developed what we think are sustainable programs that embed into the course that do not cost more than a normal laboratory cost. So that's how we intend to sustain it.
So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Thanks.
Certainly we'll also be, as this NSF grant plays out, we'll certainly be seeking donors to help us send students like these to national meetings and give them opportunities like the American Chemical Society and other professional opportunities. So if you want to make a donation, I'm
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I apologize that we have to slip out. I have to get Professor Powers back to teach a class. So, yeah.
Thanks so much for being here. That was excellent. Very good. Okay, we are now on to system reports, and Dr. Tristan Denley.
First of all, apologies from Chancellor Gregory. He is right now at Walter State. I think you're aware of the fact that we have a presidential search that's underway at Walter State Community College, and they are in the final stages of that. So he's involved in the interview process there. What I wanted to do is just take a few minutes to talk about really. I think David shared this. There's a tremendous amount of work that's happening across the system to really try to address some of the things that Mr. Wilson talked about yesterday. We have to increase the proportions of students who are being successful, and so how are we going about doing that? So I really wanted to talk about that just briefly as an overview. The first is really to put this in some sort of national context. Just next week is the first meeting of a national initiative championed by the National Association of System Heads. This will have, I think, 21 systems and about 125 institutions represented. This initiative really revolves around three major themes: math pathways, high impact practices, and also predictive analytics. So actually, we're the lead system in predictive analytics, but actually are presenting in all three of those facets. You just heard the very impressive work at Volunteer State Community College, high impact practices, and finding ways in which we can scale and strengthen those across all of our campuses is a really an important feature of the work that we're now doing, and we've been doing national work in really developing so the taxonomies around how we can help schools to recognize if you want to try to improve the high impact practices that you have. Well, how do you do that? How do you go about trying to assess what you actually have? The math pathways work is really, and I've talked about this before, recognizing the fact that you need to make mathematics be something that has some relevance to what it is that you're studying. The days of studying college algebra simply because it has college in the name are gone, and that work is also being championed by a new group called Tipsy Math. Maybe the picture of tipsy mathematicians is one that you will not easily forget. But this is a group that is actually bringing together the 8 the 8 major national mathematics associations to affirm the fact that mathematics has to have this relevance, not only for undergraduate and introductory classes, but actually all the way through. And then, of course, I think we've talked before about how we're seeking to use predictive analytics in powerful ways to help our students succeed. So that's happening on a large scale, and actually even I guess a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to go to the White House to talk to the first in the world awardees to talk about what it was that we're doing in our system in a holistic sense. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about co-requisite. That topic came up yesterday, and so kind of wanted to kind of tell you where we know what we now know. The headline numbers I was able to share last time, that when we went to full-scale implementation, and now this is roughly 8,000 or 9,000 students in community colleges and about another 4,000 or so students in the university sector from the fall, you can see that we had a fourfold increase in the success rate of our students, which is really remarkable. We talk a lot about numbers in higher education moving slowly, and they do. And so the fact that it isn't often you see results that look in this way. And again, one of the features of this is this work to recognize that this is not only just working for the students who are right there on the margin, seeing substantial increases for students all across the preparation spectrum. That was math, and this is what we see for writing, again, doubling the success rates for those students. And then this is the results for reading, and again a good 10% increase for the results in reading. I wasn't able to share those last time. We haven't talked a lot about what happened in the university sector, but it wasn't only the case that we introduced co-requisite in community colleges. We also did it across all 6 universities as well. The universities had already made steps in this direction. There was legislation, some 7-8 years ago, that meant that universities could not have standalone developmental experiences for students, and so they've been enrolling students directly into credit-bearing classes for quite some time. But what the difference is now is this wraparound support structure which the co-requisite approach produces, and you can see that again the blue bars are a full academic year. The green bars are just a single semester. So even in a single semester, it was already the case that a good 7-8% greater proportion of students are passing those introductory math classes, and these are gen ed classes, so students going straight in and passing a class which satisfies their general education requirement. That's math, and this is freshman writing. Again, the pattern for freshman writing historically for many of these students has been to take a writing class in their fall, and many of them they didn't do well. Many of them did. You can see the orange bars there are the proportion of students who passed that English 1010 class the first time through. But then the red bars are now, what happens in the spring. Some of them then retake it in the spring and do a little better. The yellow bars are what happened this last fall. And you can see just in that single semester, it's already a strikingly higher proportion of students being successful all across the preparation board. So we're really very optimistic about the fact that I think I've shared before. These are, I think the fact that we call them the 3 R's is and have done for maybe 3 millennia or something is indication of the fact we've long understood that these are skills which are foundational to all learning, and consequently when students are that's going to. One of the other striking features, and this just came out in an independent study by the Community College Research Center, Davis Jenkins and his team dug inside to see, we know that doing this co-requisite approach is going to be more expensive in the sense that the cost of implementation will be greater. We are teaching, tremendously more courses to tremendously more students, and so the cost of instruction will go up. The question is that money being wisely spent? Is it more cost effective to do it that way? And so and in their paper they then explore this idea of cost per success. So how much of institutional investment is going in to produce each success that's being produced? And you can see that not only are students much more successful this way, but actually it's twice as cost effective, which is again really very affirming. Last few things are just to show you, again, we wanted to make sure that this approach really works for all of our students, not only just some of our students. So I wasn't able to share disaggregations before, but now I can. So this is for our minority population. You can see, again, a good six-fold increase in student success for those students. There's this 42% headline number, if you like, is not the 52% that I showed you for the general population. So there is a gap there, and this is well understood that there's a national achievement gap for low-income and for minority students. This gap is basically explained by a difference in the underlying ACT distribution. I mean, it's just a reality, at least right now, that ACT scores trend lower for our minority student population. We hope that will change in the future, but at least this is where we are right now. But that's the reason for that change to 42. For our adult population, I think this was something we were concerned about. Is it really the case that we could take returning adults who maybe have been out of the classroom for some substantial amount of time and then bring them and put them straight into a credit-bearing math class or writing class? Can they do that? And well, yes, they can, and they can do it much more effectively than they were able to before. I'm only showing you math results, but if you want to see writing or reading,
you're a mathematician, Tristan.
Well, there is that bias, right? But also the results in general. I think it's been well understood that math is I've heard somebody say that math is the place where higher education dreams go to die. People in general if they flounder, math is where they flounder, and so the math has been the long-standing challenge. But yeah, I'm a mathematician too, right? So, adults and then low-income students, I shared with you the fact that we should expect there to be an achievement gap, and you can see that the gap is actually very narrow for our low-income students. So this is, again, a very important finding. Promise students, now that we have the Tennessee Promise, we want to pay careful attention to the fact that they are succeeding, and at least one of the reasons why we believe that the retention rates are as strong as they were, and we saw those yesterday, were the fact that for many of these students, this has been such a positive experience. What's actually pretty interesting is when you go inside and combine those things and say, well, look, what can we see for students who are or are not Promise students but were eligible to be so. So for minority students, the red and orange bars, they were all Promise eligible. They're all high school students in this chart. But the orange students, they actually persisted all the way through the Promise experience. The red students, either they didn't apply or they didn't make it. And you can see that the red circle is not where it's supposed to be. You can see that the achievement gap is completely closed for minority Promise students, and the same feature happens for low-income students. So there's sort of this interesting facet. We discussed yesterday the Promise being largely an access initiative, and it's had profound changes on college going. But what also seems to be the case is that there is, and I'll tell you candidly, I don't know that we understand exactly what the mechanism is that's producing this, but it's sure a wonderful thing to find that those Promise students really are closing that achievement gap. Last couple of things I want to talk about are, what are we now doing to try to improve this? Well, as you dig inside the data, what you discover is that students who are not performing well, actually across the board, it's partly about preparation, but it's also largely about the way in which they understand themselves as a learner. Their academic mindset produces a tremendous change in their likelihood to succeed. And so we've done a lot of recent research in understanding what that might be. Did a large-scale survey across actually roughly 7,000 of our undergraduates this fall, and then dug inside to see what the productive persistence drivers are, and they are those four. So students believing that they are capable of learning the material, students feeling connected to their institution, feeling that they're engaged, feeling that they belong. This is why those high impact practices are so extremely important. I think you could sort of feel the even though the student seemed skeptical as to whether or not he really wanted to study those things. I don't know that you could tell by the passion that he had explaining it, and that's what we want to see. Believing the coursework has value. Do you see the connection between what it is that you're studying and what you hope to do with it? And then do you feel that you have the support structure around you to succeed? Not necessarily the ability, but even the support structure around you. So, and we've done the analysis to see that the effects are not small. So this idea of whether or not you believe that you're capable of learning the material produces about a 20% differential, 20-point differential in your likelihood to successfully complete that class. And what's surprising is this attitudinal idea is completely discorrelated from ACT score. So there's students in the blue bar who are very well prepared, and there's students in the blue bar who are not prepared at all. And there's students in the yellow bar exactly the other. So changing the way in which students are able to think about themselves, you can see having little confidence that you have the support structure around you to be actually able to complete your course has a massive depressing factor on your likelihood to succeed. This is nothing about whether or not these resources exist, but everything about whether or not you believe that they exist. And so we're looking for ways to try to help students to think differently about themselves as learners in relationship to the school. And so that's work that's ongoing. We've had several mindset summits, both with faculty, staff, and also with student affairs. And then just recently, I guess it's about 10 days ago now, we had a 2-day event which was co-sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Lumina Foundation. We brought the entire system together, universities, community colleges, and actually the TCATs as well, to explore this idea of, well, what does an institution look like if it is committed to supporting low-income students? What are the challenges of a low-income student which we wouldn't necessarily ordinarily anticipate, but as an institution, we would be able to, if we were able to anticipate those, then we could make definitive changes. A number of our schools have food banks, have relationships with, for instance, local bus services, all of those things. But what are ways in which we can really sort of tie all those things together? And are there ways in which we can begin to think about policies and procedures which unknowingly actually impede the progress of our low-income student population? This is so we're actually the first system to work with Lumina in this way. Again, as has become our custom now, when we bring schools together in this way, it's A, informative, but B, a call to action. And so each school went away with a definitive plan as to next steps about what it is that they're going to be doing. So hopefully that gives you a sort of an overview of where we've been recently and where we're now putting our efforts.
Questions?
Tristan, go back to the slide that has the English scores on it. Miles back. So what, if I recall the slide correctly, or the
University or community college?
The histogram, I think it was the community college, and it may have been the university one too. Is there a correlation between ACT score and how they do?
Yeah, so and that's actually the disaggregation. So it's maybe I should have explained. That's math. So this must be back one more. The disaggregation across the bottom is by ACT subscore. So it's by the in this case the English. Okay, sorry. That'll do. Yeah. So that's the university one. So the numbers along the bottom are their that student's ACT English subscore.
I guess my question is there a significant difference between somebody who has a 17 in any of those years and somebody who has a 10?
Well, I mean, that's the thing which has actually become pretty surprising to us. I mean, I think for a long time, we in academia, right, not just we in TBR, have ascribed a tremendous amount of import from this number between 12 and 36, which a student gets. And it seems as though, well, it carries information, but it probably doesn't carry as much information as we really thought.
I don't think it can be.
Right, and what we found, and this is sort of the place where this really played out was when we began this work to say, so when we looked at students who had an 18 and students who had a 19 and looked at what proportion of them ended up passing a credit-bearing math class in the sort of the two approaches, the sort of go straight in or the do the developmental work first. So students who have an 18 and students who have a 19, they're sort of a good breakfast different. You know, if you think you're going to get an 18, eat some bacon, and you get a 19, I mean, there's not that much difference between these students. But a year later, there's a 10 standard deviation difference between the proportions that had passed that math class. And I think this is what Joe is saying too, that you can tell a difference between somebody who has a 15 and somebody who has a 25. Or a 30, but for a long time we sort of tried to say, well, you can tell the difference between somebody who has a 15 and somebody who has a 17, and you probably can't.
I mean, just looking at the numbers, if you go from 12 to 17, there's probably not much difference. Maybe 11, maybe less than 10. Yeah,
it's more in the sort of more in these sort of these affinity groups, and so yeah.
Remind me, how many high school students, percentage-wise, private higher education, you call it remediation or gateway or et cetera, who are in the category of groups that need that kind of math?
So it's of the order of 2/3.
2/3
of the order of 2/3, and it's been steadily declining. You know, we have been working on the spreading the sales initiative, and the sales initiative has significantly decreased. So I think when we began, it was around 66%. I think the latest figures are right at 57. Somebody else knows that number better than I, but some are of that order. And of course, we're just about to introduce Sales English this coming fall, which again will, for many of these students, this is not an isolated event, right? So they have needs in one discipline, but they have needs in the others too. But it's something of that order. So that's the reason why this is so powerful. You know, when 2/3 of your students are coming in, and only 12% of those then succeed in that year, that's a powerful deal.
Point to me in my industry, and if I get substandard material from this supplier here, it's not my job to remediate it. It goes back, and the people who created that product are charged for the remediation. And at some point soon, I think we need to have that kind of discussion.
Well,
you've demonstrated, this program demonstrates that the capabilities, the inherent capabilities of these students exist, but they're not getting it at the appropriate time in the educational process.
Yeah, and I think I've made it no secret of the fact that I would be perfectly happy if this is a sort of a nice idea for a time. But I'd be perfectly happy if all of the changes that have happened in K-12 and re-examining higher standards and the curricula that goes along with it means that work just takes this idea off the table. Nothing would please me more.
It's placed appropriately at the educational level where it should be.
But at least the nice thing, I think, is what we know is that to have any chance of getting to drive to 55, we have to engage adult population. Well, we have to engage everybody, and so at least it's the case that for now we have a valid and successful approach to these students who need to have a better start to college than they traditionally have. But also we have a very effective technique for students who are coming back, and that's a really important piece too. 10 years from now, maybe 2/3 will be a much smaller number, but returning adults for a long, long time will still need this kind of work. Yeah. Thanks.
Dr. DiPietro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. I didn't prepare slides, but next time I will bring you a set of slides on equine medicine and surgery. Because this guy's a mathematician, and by the way, I did grow up in a household with a mathematician, so my father was a mathematics professor, and we went off to college highly confident because he actually had a blackboard installed in our family room. And there couldn't be worse things to happen on a sunny spring day than to have my father say, "We need to go over your math homework."
My daughters know that some fathers have a shotgun, but I have a calculus test.
Yeah, exactly. So since the last meeting of this commission, a lot of things have happened in our system. One of the more notable ones, and it was a privilege to do this, I was able to give the first State of the University address here in Nashville in the middle of February. We did it at St. Thomas West Hospital. It's symbolic from the standpoint, and Siri can certainly attest to this, that it's an expansion of our Health Science Center campus here in the Middle Tennessee area. It's a residency training program that will expand from about 20 residents there to about 200, so that's why we held it there. It was a great opportunity in many ways to get the word out, and the detailed message was about progress and position of this university system that I have the privilege to lead. And it was conceived well in advance of many of the controversies that you've read about around our system or our campuses that have been out there recently. And the central message was, we're performing at a very high level. If you look at some 18 to 20 metrics, and Russ has seen them till he's probably sick of them from the standpoint of being one of our trustees, we're really performing at a high level where we've exceeded goal in probably 2/3 of those, and we know how we can improve in the other areas to get better in a really quick way. And it's in all three core areas of our mission: education, discovery, and connecting our outreach with the citizens. We had a standing room crowd of about 150 people there. And we had over 1,000 people view it via the internet as part of the process across our system and across the state. And we had extensive statewide and traditional media and social media coverage of the event. And at that event too, we did present the inaugural set of presidential awards recognizing service in the three key mission areas of our institution. We also have had our spring board meeting the first day of April Fool's Day, in Martin, and Chancellor Smith hosted us very graciously there. I always say to the people at Martin and to our board when we visit there, the best food service in the entire University of Tennessee system is at UT Martin. They have an executive chef, and so you can go to a board meeting and gain 3 or 4 pounds in 2 days. It's a great place. But it was an opportunity to update the board on several key items. One of them was our commitment to addressing sexual assault on our campus and safety across the entire UT system for our students, faculty, and staff. And we provided updates on the state's outsourcing initiative and reiterated our commitment to diversity and inclusion efforts across the system with our board. I updated the board on several of our executive searches. One was the fact that we've suspended our search on the executive vice president position until fall. We initiated that search earlier this year. The initial round of applicants and the candidates, none of them were a perfect match, and so we've opted to sit back on that one and decide what we'll do in the fall about going forward with that. We do have our search to replace interim Chancellor Bob Smith, who's done a great job at UT Martin. In fact, at the board meeting, our board started to chant 4 more years, Bob. I really appreciate what Chancellor Smith has done for us at Martin, and you heard in the presentation regarding the master plan that enrollments declined, but he has not stood still, and we'll turn the corner there, I'm sure, in a lot of ways because of his leadership during the interim role. UTC Chancellor Steve Angle is chairing that search, and we're pleased that with a number of applications and inquiries so far. So we think there are a lot of people interested in the opportunity to lead UT Martin. We hope to be able to recommend to our board in October at a routine board meeting a person for them to elect to that capacity so that we can relieve Dr. Smith in the first part of the new year, hopefully. We also plan to initiate a search for the permanent replacement of, many of you know him, Butch Peccolo, who is our CFO and treasurer, and Ron Maples has been in an interim role, and we hope to get that underway quickly too. No surprise to probably many of you, take a look at my beard, you'll realize that we have a lot of people who are approaching retirement. We have 103 senior leaders across the 7 UT entities, and 40% of them will be eligible for retirement within the next 5 years. And so we've engaged a new statewide succession planning initiative, and we have, through an RFP process that has been completed, have identified the Oliver Group out of Louisville to help us with that. And they will come in and do the initial assessment at one of the campuses and sort of train up the people in our system in our HR area to help us at the other institutions in developing succession plans, because we definitely need them. We'll pilot a model, as I said, on one of the campuses, and then we'll go forward doing it at the other places within our entire system. That'll keep our costs down as part of that effort, too. So kind of a quick news tour around the system. I want to give you some updates. We held the 10th annual UT Day on the Hill here in February on the 17th. It was a smashing success. The Senate and the House had a football passing contest after the luncheon, and I can't remember who won, and I'm glad there are no elected officials here because I probably get it wrong, but I think it was the House. As far as UTK, they've just announced a new joint partnership with MIT. The U.S. Secretary of Defense, Ashton Carter, announced that UTK has been selected to participate in a $317 million public-private partnership run by MIT. It's similar to the IACME presentation that Dr. Amy provided this commission last meeting, or meeting before last, I think. And so it's similar to that. It's about advanced functional fibers for America. And it's, again, one of these manufacturing innovation institutes designed to accelerate innovation in high-tech manufacturing. This is the 8th one established, and it's the 4th one involving the University of Tennessee. And, again, it's focused on highly functional advanced fibers and textiles for the defense and commercial markets. As far as notable UTK namings that we've accomplished recently, the Joint Institute for Neutron Sciences is now the Schull-Wolin Center. It's named in honor of two esteemed Nobel Prize-winning physicists and pioneers in neutron sciences, Clifford Schull and Ernest Wolin. And the UTK Center for Business and Economic Research is now the Boyd Center for Business and Economic Research, named in honor of UT alumnus Randy Boyd and his wife Jenny for their generous support of that institution. So I guess the acronym, Mr. Martin, goes from CBER to BCBER, and we'll move forward with that. Forbes has ranked UTK as a top 20 place to work in higher education, and we're very happy about that, obviously. It included businesses and industry as well as higher education institutions. And I'm happy to tell you that the University of Florida placed 90th, and so we're really tickled with that. At UTC, they've developed a new master's program in automotive systems, and it'll cater to increased opportunities from automotive industry. It's catering to the increased opportunities within the automobile industry in the state, but particularly Chattanooga. Volkswagen was instrumental in helping the university develop the program. At UT Martin, at the April meeting of our board, the board approved a decrease in UT Martin's out-of-state tuition. It's a 33% decrease, which will take effect with the fall 2016 semester. It's designed to make UT Martin more competitive. As Ken has said, their enrollments declined with in-state tuition rates of institutions in surrounding states and a more viable option for out-of-state students. Students who meet additional academic requirements may qualify for the Explorer Scholarship, a value of $5,000 a year, provided they remain in good academic standing, enrolled full-time, live in UT Martin on-campus housing, and purchase a qualifying meal plan for each semester. With these changes, out-of-state students could potentially save $12,000 or more compared to previous years, a savings rate of approximately 56%. Changes do not apply to online or international students, however. At the Health Science Center, last month, the UT College of Medicine introduced the world's most comprehensive mobile stroke unit, capable of conducting and producing advanced quality imaging for stroke diagnosis and non-invasive CT angiography. This is the first time, as far as we know, that CT capabilities of this magnitude have been available in a mobile setting. And this is significant in the Memphis area where the stroke incidence is 37% higher than the national average. So our system's moving along at a pretty decent speed, and I'm really happy about where we're at and how we're doing. And every day I appreciate the privilege to serve in this capacity, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Dr. DPH, reduced, that's similar. Is it the same? I mean, see, I was thinking University of Memphis actually just charged in-state tuition to students who were out of.
So within the 200, there's others who maybe can make sure I get this exactly right. So within a 250-mile radius of the school, and I think most of the 6 universities have now adopted this pattern, the out-of-state students actually pay. They pay the combined the combined amount of money of the in-state tuition that in-state students pay and the state's contribution. And that's what they pay. So it isn't quite the in-state rate. It's a little bit larger than the in-state rtate.
And if I recall correctly, Tristan, was it last session that there was some collar counties across essentially the state border from the University of Memphis in which they were able to come at in-state tuition? There's a 250-mile issue,
That's
but
right.
then there was a group of collar counties because it takes legislative action to
That's
give the
right.
equivalent.
I believe that's correct for the University of Memphis, and I know Austin P has some counties like that. There are several of our schools who have contiguous counties in Kentucky, Arkansas, and in Georgia that where they actually have the actual in-state tuition, not in-state, true in-state tuition for those students. That's
This
right.
is a 30% additional.
We felt we wanted to do this first with our board, and also, Dr. Smith did a wonderful job of doing an analysis that showed you where you needed to set this tuition in order to be competitive with the surrounding states. So Kentucky, Missouri, that kind of an approach.
I imagine that number is pretty close to that 250-mile number, but yeah.
Thank you.
Significant.
Well, you might imagine this too. I mean, it's no secret, right? If your enrollment is declining and you've built dormitories and you have meal service, you need to put people in beds and you need to feed people in order to keep the business model moving forward. So that's the other part of this approach.
The questions. Thank you for the report. Scott Sloan will now give us a legislative update.
Chairman Cope, Dr. Deaton, members, good morning. I came prepared this morning to share an opening statement that the legislature had adjourned sine die last night, but apparently that is not the case, and they
our fault.
I don't think it's our fault this time, but they continue on today. As you well know, higher education received significant attention during this session, starting first and foremost with House Bill 2578, the Focus Act. Governor Haslam was here yesterday to discuss this initiative with the Commission. In a nutshell, it restructures the Board of Regents and establishes 6 independent separate governing boards for those universities currently overseen by the Board of Regents. THEC duties, as we discussed yesterday, are enhanced in several areas, including approval of institutional mission statements, additional capital duties, binding tuition setting authorities, strategic financial plans, as well as conducting orientation and training for those board members. The bill was amended when it went through the Senate Education Committee and shifted appointing authority for 3 of the THEC appointments from the governor to the legislature, 1 for the lieutenant governor, 1 for the House Speaker, and 1 joint appointment. All the other appointments remain unchanged. House Bill 1696 involves the UT Board of Trustees and addresses the scope of authority and some of the structure of the president of the UT system as well as the Board of Trustees. It also codifies several of the Board of Trustees bylaws as related to established committees and their duties therein. This does touch THEC just a little bit, and the language that was utilized in the Focus Act with regard to training of those board members will also going forward impact those Board of Trustees members. House Bill 2573 is an administration bill. It's the Higher Education Authorization Act of 2016. This involves THEC's regulation of the proprietary sector and updates the original Authorization Act from 1974. It creates an optional expedited fast-track authorization process for those nationally and regionally accredited institutions that satisfy the statutory eligibility requirements. Also under the Act, THEC's been directed to develop new administrative rules, meet with stakeholders. We're also going to revisit the regulatory fee structure, as well as taking some of the performance metrics that are provided to us and publishing those on the THEC website. Senate Bill 1625 involves fee waivers for state employees in that program. It does modify the current statute just a little bit to allow more scheduling flexibility. There was not a fiscal note on this bill because, in the program overall, state employees get a total of 4 courses per academic year, and the statute up to now has been 1 course per term. It was updated just a little bit to accommodate perhaps shorter terms or accelerated terms where the student might want to take two courses in 1 semester, for example. Again, no fiscal impact. The net benefit remains the same. It just accommodates some of the alternative scheduling. Also on tuition fees and discounts, the Senate Bill 514. And this is a big deal for those of us who've been working on the government relations side for a while with the fee waiver and discount programs. Just as an aside, currently those programs run about $17.5 million per year and grow every year. But the appropriation for those programs has been static for a long time at about $2.2 million a year. We are very pleased. TBR, UT, and THEC worked really hard on this bill to get this, and we have a task force that will be meeting between now and December, and we're very pleased with the composition. It includes a House and Senate member, representatives from DOHR, FNA, the Board of Regents, UT, THEC, of course, and also the Office of Legislative Budget Analysis. We will be meeting and developing recommendations that are due in December of this year. Senate Bill 2394 impacts students with an M1 or F1 student visa who are enrolled in public institutions and in privates and proprietaries as well, actually. Last year, as you may recall, a bill was passed that placed an affirmative duty on all institutions domiciled in the state to report any student who was on an M1 or F1 visa who wasn't enrolled, dropped out, wasn't attending classes. That was due to actually take effect this fall. Several meetings between the systems, THEC, and the Department of Safety and Homeland Security had been occurring over the last year to prepare for that. This bill actually shifts the model entirely. Instead of that reporting that the institutions have going forward, the Commissioner of Safety and Homeland Security has the authorization and the authority to issue a subpoena for any valid law enforcement purpose to compel an institution to produce that metric information as well as names and addresses of the students who on those visas who do not finish a term. Senate Bill 1431 is in-state tuition for military dependents. It grants in-state tuition rates and fees at the public institutions in Tennessee for children, dependent children of military parents, if that military parent perished as the result of a targeted attack that occurred in Tennessee. That is very specific language, and this is in response to the Chattanooga attacks from last year. House Bill 1836 regarding the VETS campus designation. 2 years ago, the Tennessee VETS Act was passed, which granted in-state tuition to veterans. Part of that bill involved institutions who met several statutory requirements in demonstrating their service to their veteran students. THEC could offer them an honorary designation as a VETS campus. We're pleased to say right now we have 13 public institutions that have received that, and this bill was brought by TACUA to actually make their institutions, independent nonprofit institutions operating in Tennessee, eligible to apply for this designation. House Bill 458 student immunizations. In a nutshell, this bill requires institutions to accept proof of a student's prior or current military service to satisfy the immunization required of that student for enrollment at the institution. The intent was to remove what was felt as barriers to enrollment in some of those processes for those who we know have updated, up-to-date, and current immunizations or had received those immunizations in the past to satisfy the requirements. House Bill 1680 is another THEC bill regarding state authorization. This is in response to some difficulties that several institutions, and this is not just limited to Tennessee as I understand it, have had with state authorization with the United States Department of Education. We think, understand THEC had run the language by U.S. DOE, and all parties are satisfied. THEC's role in this is to establish a list of those institutions and maintaining and publishing that on our website. The hope is that resolves any roadblocks or issues that they're encountering with the feds. House Bill 2447 related to campus crime awareness and prevention. Two parts to this bill. First part mandates that all of our public institutions of higher education shall conduct orientation to all entering freshmen regarding awareness and prevention of sexual assault, sexual battery, sexual harassment, and date rape. The second part of that bill encourages our institutions to offer instruction on those things as well for all students, but also for the offenses, hate crime offenses that are out there. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Scott? Thank you. Next, I'll call on Dr. Deaton for amendment to the 2016-17 disclosed capital projects list. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll recall in November every year, there's an element of the financial recommendations that we make to the General Assembly and the Governor that there includes a list of disclosed projects that are funded from non-state sources that are where the intent to pursue is being communicated. Schools intend to perhaps over that budget year pursue a new dorm, a parking garage, something that's a non-state source. But because of the time lag in the budget calendar, we give schools another chance to add to that list, to amend that list, and that is what is before you in item 2C. This is always included in the state budget, and due to the timing of that, I approve this by interim action to get it to the budget office and the legislature in time for inclusion in that budget, which passed last week. So it is offered here for information, and we can respond to questions if there are any.
Thank you. You're up again on the conflict of interest disclosure policy.
Yes, so to avoid getting pestering emails from our counsel's office, I ask you to fill out item 2D before your departure today. This is required annually for all commission members to note and disclose any conflicts of interest that they may have. Item 2D, and you can either hand it to me, to Brett, to anyone here before you leave today.
And finally, I think, again, Dr. Deaton, the Summer Commission meeting, July 20th.
Sure. And, Mr. Chairman, 2 points of note about this. First is that it is on a Wednesday. It'll be a single-day format, unlike the 2 days we've been experiencing lately. So we'll have a work session in the morning, followed by the meeting that afternoon, single day. And as noted yesterday, this will include the Association of Governing Boards, AGB, who will conduct a workshop for the Commission regarding the Focus Act and the many issues that were brought up yesterday in the in-depth discussion for the next year.
Well, we're at the end of our agenda. I will note we have the Harold Love Awards here at 11:30. To the extent you have time to stay, I would encourage you to stay for those awards. They're always important part of what we do here at THEC. So if there's no other business to come before the Commission, I will declare the meeting adjourned.